Now for our business update, we are joined on set by Karis Garland from our business desk, and we're going to be taking a closer look at the auto workers strike in the United States that we were covering a little earlier. Karis, good to have you with us. Okay. So the union is calling this historic, unprecedented. How exactly did we get to where we are now?
Well, the United Auto Workers Union has been negotiating with what's known as the Detroit Three, so that's General Motors, Ford and Stellantis. The union president, Shawn Fain, has actually taken quite an aggressive approach, noting the billions in profits made by these car makers, saying meanwhile workers are actually seeing mostly concessions. Fain himself has admitted the union's demands are actually very audacious, though says the companies should be able to afford them. They include a 40% pay rise over 4 years, which has since been brought down to 36%, a 32-hour or 4-day work week, a return of automatic pay increases tied to inflation, and a pension increase for retirees. Well, Ford, meanwhile, says these measures would more than double its US labor costs, though it and the other two firms have offered a 20% wage increase, enhanced vacation and family leave, and those cost of living allowance adjustments that are linked to inflation, though these, the workers say, Sharon, are just obviously not enough.
And the union, it has 146,000 members, but less than 13,000 of them are set to strike this Friday. So how exactly does that work?
Well, the unions are calling it a targeted strike. I think actually we'll take a listen to the union president, Shawn Fain, now to see how he described it.
Tonight, for the first time in our history, we will strike all three of the big three at once. We are using a new strategy, the stand-up strike. We will call on select facilities, locals, or units to stand up and go on strike.
So referring there to a stand-up strike, referring back to a historic strike in the 1930s, which was known as the sit-down strike. So even though the industrial action will hit all three companies at once, only one factory for each firm will be affected as of this Friday. For General Motors, that factory is in Wentzville, Missouri. It employs about 3,600 union members and produces cars like the Chevrolet Colorado and Express and the GMC Canyon and Savannah. Meanwhile, the Ford plant in Michigan will be affected, though the union says that will only be final assembly workers that will strike. There are about 3,300 union members there, and they manufacture the Ranger and Bronco models. And the Stellantis factory that's being hit by this strike on Friday is in Toledo, Ohio, with 5,800 union members. It makes the Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator. So these plants manufacture highly profitable vehicles for these automakers that are largely continuing to be in high demand. And another advantage of this strategy for the union to target specific plants at a time, that's it won't run out very quickly of its strike fund. That's $825 million in the strike fund. Each union member will be entitled to $500 a week when they are striking. And if all of these 146 union members went on strike at the same time, that could actually cost the fund about $70 million a week, so a lot more expensive for them.
And Karis, what are the likely consequences then of this strike action?
A little hard to say. Estimates by the Anderson Economic Group show a 10-day walkout will actually lead to economic losses exceeding $5 billion for all these three companies. That includes $859 million in wage losses and $989 million in manufacturer losses. Well, analysts say that typically short-term strikes don't have a significant impact on consumers. However, the current inventory at these automakers are hovering around 55, 60 days. So that could affect dealers and customers much sooner than, for example, in 2019, when there was a strike against General Motors. Now, after the pandemic and the slowdown, that's meant that we've got 1/5 of the inventory that was there in during the 2019 strike that lasted 6 weeks. That strike saw the General Motors Michigan plant experience just a single quarter recession. So we'll have to see how this strike affects the companies this time around.
Caris, we'll have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much. That is Caris Garland joining us there from our business desk. Well, as you've been hearing,